Welcome back. I got a draw in my rapid game last night, but during the game, I felt like, at least through a long stretch of the middle game, I was ahead. And I'm not sure exactly how I fell behind, but during the end game, I was certainly behind. My opponent made a mistake right at the end and I got the draw. Right after the game, I was too tired to go through it at that time. I just closed my tablet off, went and took a shower and went to bed. So I'm going to look at the game right now and see what happened. If we look at the game review chart, it looks like my instinct was correct. That long dark streak there through the middle shows that I was indeed ahead. I was playing with the black pieces. I was ahead through a long stretch of the middle game, and even looks like as we were transitioning into the end game. But then I made, according to the graph, looks like 2 blunders and lost it all. But then my opponent blundered right at the end. So I'm just going to go to those specific moves and see what my opponent should have done instead, and whether or not I capitalized on it correctly, and also what I should have done instead. Hopefully that won't take too long. Okay, we're 13 moves into the game here, and we're about even. And here, I had just moved my knight in the middle, obviously threatening their queen, and the queen moved out of danger. I didn't know at the time that that was a huge blunder. The reason that I put the knight in there is because the queen was the only defender of this knight, which I'm attacking. They've just pushed this pawn up to attack my bishop. I didn't want to bring my bishop back, which felt like just a weak retreating move. So instead I had put my knight in here, thinking, hey, if the queen moves over to get out of danger from the knight, then I would just win this knight. But instead the queen went here. That turns out to be a huge blunder. So I don't know what they should have done instead, but I'm going to take a look at the lines. It says they should have just taken that. Oh no, they should have taken this. Knight captures d5 is, well, or knight to a4. Either one. Okay, either one would have attacked my queen. I'll be honest, before I moved the knight in there, when I first put the bishop up here, I had thought maybe they were going to do something like that. Attacking my queen, and then there would be double trouble, basically. But they didn't. And here it says that move would have kept us near equality. Okay, taking my knight would have been a blunder. But what they had to do was attack my queen one of these 2 ways. That way, if I did take their queen, either way, they would then, I assume, take mine with whichever spot they had just come from. And if I took down here with my bishop, I would be threatening their bishop. And if I had taken their queen with my knight, I would be threatening their rook. But either way, they would be threatening my rook down here. So it would have gotten really complicated had they done that one of those 2 moves. And I'm not sure I would have come out of that ahead. But instead, what they did was this. And apparently that gives me a huge advantage. Well, I saw that my knight was protecting their knight. That was another reason I moved it in there. My knight's attacking here. So I can take it with the bishop, which threatens their rook, and it's protected. So but they would just have to move the rook then, or lose the queen. So I figured they would just move the rook. So that's what I did, and they moved the rook. I came up with I didn't know that that was a blunder there, but right here, I thought of something pretty cool, and it was this knight move. I don't know, was that not my best move? That was not my best move according to the eval bar just dropped there. But this is what I thought. This was a pretty cool move because, yes, the knight can just be taken 2 different ways, but if they don't take it, it's pointing at their rook and their queen, and my bishop's also pointed at their queen. So if they just take the knight, I'll get their queen. And if they just move the queen, which they only have a couple of safe squares they can move it to, then I would win this exchange. And that's what happened. They moved their queen, they're taking my bishop, and I got their rook. And it looks like I might have actually come out not very good for that exchange, but I'm ahead a piece here because I got that knight over there. Let's go on to the next point, the point at which I lost the lead. I had the lead here for quite some time. Actually, you know what? I'm going to back right up before that slick move that I thought of. What did it say I should have done? Oh, it just says I should have saved the bishop by dropping it back, because that was the problem with this. When I moved the knight, I left the bishop undefended. Or I could have played f6. Really, that would have given me the same amount. Oh, because the knight and the bishop are still both defended right here. So I could have just left them there, threatening this knight with my pawn. Very interesting. Well, let's go on to the next move. Okay, we made it all the way to move 41, and I have a +10 advantage according to the eval bar. Here is where I messed up. Now, this pawn moving forward was a problem. Not only because this passed pawn is now 3 squares from promotion, but also because it exposed this attack on my rook. That's actually the part that I didn't see. But even after the next move, when I did see that, I thought I was still okay. What I decided here was, hey, I've got a pawn that's also 3 squares from promotion, and I thought we would race for it. And I went. But that turns out to lose almost all my advantage. I'm now only up minus 2 point something. So what should I have done instead? I'm guessing I should have moved the rook. I don't know where. Maybe here, where it was still been protected by a pawn, or maybe here. The problem I thought with that, even in hindsight, even after I realized I had left the rook, left this exchange hanging, I thought, well, then they could just advance this pawn. But I guess that's okay because I can still get in front of it, right? Yeah. I could have still gotten in front of that pawn with my king. But I was also worried they had a little bit of a majority here too, so I just decided to race for it. I thought if they stopped to take my rook, then I would get another move, and then their pawn would be behind, and I could get in front of it. The problem with that is that once they take my rook, they guard the promotion square of the c pawn. Okay, so I'm guessing that what I should have done instead was one of these 2 rook moves. Let's turn on the lines. Rook to d3. Oh, there. Okay. No, that's d3. Or e5. Here. Interesting. Wouldn't they have just advanced the pawn if I had done that? It says they wouldn't. Or rook to b3. Oh, that's one of the ones I said. Okay, but all of those would have given me a -9 or better. So I got that one right. Okay, but here, it turns out that I was still okay here. And after I moved, I realized I've hung the rook. They took it. Yeah, I take back the bishop, right? Okay, that was right. And that's check. I take back the bishop, and now they're not guarding the promotion square, although their king can get there fast enough too. Well, so they take back, and I still have a very slight lead, -2. This is where my next blunder was. And now I'm trying to remember what my plan was, but I think my plan was to draw their king away from these other pawns, and then I would be able to pick them off. But I did that, and the eval bar jumps, and my opponent has a +4. So I should have done something else here. Should I have just left the pawn there and come after this one? Because if I moved toward this pawn, they would have moved toward mine. And then if I moved here, they would have taken it, right? And then I would have taken this one. And then, oh, but then my king would be sitting in the middle, so they couldn't come forward to protect this pawn's advance. But then what would I do? Oh no, it would be their turn. Okay, that's probably it. It's probably king to e7. No, it's not. Wow. King to e7 would have taken us to a drawn position, but f5 is actually my best move. They would have just taken it, right? It says if they had taken it, I would have had a -13. Their best, the only move that maintains the -2, or it's getting close to -3 now, is moving toward this pawn. Wow. Why wouldn't they have taken it? That says -13. And if I come up to try to take this pawn, that takes us back to drawn. I would have had to have known to play g4. Oh, I get it now. I'm in front of this pawn. It can't go anywhere. And then once I play g4, their king can't get to both of those pawns at this. It can't catch both of them. It can catch either one, but not both. Okay, so I would play g4. Then wouldn't they play here? It says they would, but then I would play, it doesn't matter whether I play g3 or c2. Is that, okay, that's because once this goes, then I can catch it? I'm sorry, I'm a little confused here. Okay, well, it says g3 is slightly better, so let's play g3. Then they're going to play d7, I'm certain. Okay, so I play king to e7 to guard the promotion square. But then they're going to check me, right? That's one of their 2 best moves. Oh, their best. Oh, but it keeps switching back and forth from -62 to -9. Okay, I think it may have settled on -62. Keeping in mind we're at a weaker version of Stockfish because this website hasn't figured out how to implement Stockfish 15, even though all the other sites can. Then I would take this pawn. Oh, I can catch both of them because of how close they are. So even if they moved it, I can catch it. Wow. So backing up, that was a long string there. So my plan of pushing this forward to draw their king away from these other pawns was bunk. I guess the problem is that they could still catch that pawn. And by the time I got this one, they would be right here protecting those pawns. So I had to play f5 here, the only move that maintains a very slight advantage. And even if they knew not to take, even if they sat there for 4 minutes, which is about what they had left, and realized that if they took, I would get an extra passed pawn. And they couldn't catch both of them. And they played their best move here, which is king to d3. Then I would create another passed pawn over here by taking. But that's the only move. That's an only move. Not here, just taking. Wow, look at the huge, can you see that? There's a huge difference between them playing b5 and them taking this pawn. b5 is the only move that keeps us at -3. King taking here takes us to -61, which is just a couple of steps from a mating sequence. So had they, let's say my opponent had seen that, I would take it, right? Yeah, the only move that keeps us at -2. I would have to know to take, but then they would have a passed pawn here. We're still at -2. Okay, now I play g3. They play a6. I can't catch that one. There's nothing I can do. So it's just a race, right? And if I play g2, wait, why is g4 my best move? I'm confused. No, now it says b4 is my best move. And we're not at -2 or 3 anymore. We're at -1 point something. And b4 is better somehow. I would play g2 here. I know Stockfish is saying it's not quite as good, but okay. This one I'm pretty certain. Okay, yeah, see, it's -2. That was the better move. Okay, and it says they play a7, which of course they would. And me promoting is not my best move. Stockfish still wants me to play b4. Well, I'm going to promote here. Sorry. In any real game, I'm going to promote there. But then they are too. We've both got queens, and I've got 2 extra pawns. And my best move is b4. Really? Why wouldn't I check them, though? Because all b4 does is protect this pawn, right? Also, I think if I don't check them, they're going to check me. It says they wouldn't. It says if I played b4, they would play queen to d8. Whoops, d8's over here. I think I would check them either here or here, trying to maneuver their king now that we've each got 3 minutes left. Oh, we both have 3:08 left. Okay, well, that's a long involved thing, but that's where I lost the game, was this move, not actually giving up the rook for the bishop. But it was my plan here, and I had to know to play this. I had a series of only moves just to keep the -2.4. And backing up, instead of playing c3, I should have brought my rook over here, or I don't even remember what the other ones were. d3 is fine, b3 is fine, or even e5 is fine. But I should have waited on that pawn. All right, well, let's skip ahead to where my opponent gave away their advantage. Okay, right here it says they have mate in 2. That's interesting. Mate in 2. I'm gonna guess, let's see, what would have been mate in 2? Because what they played was queen to g5, and that allowed me to go either way to get around behind my pawn, and it took it back to like a mate in 14. But what's their mate in 2 here? I don't know that I would have found mate in 2 if I'd been playing with the white pieces. I'm not seeing it. I'm gonna click on the lines. Queen to f5 check. Oh, that makes a lot more sense. Okay. Because from there, it would cut off all of this as well as that. Okay, and that would force my king here. And then, wait, sorry. I'm having trouble with this. This is crazy. And now it's mate in 1, and it's here. Okay, and yeah, and from there, the queen would cut off, whoops. If they had played here, the queen would cut off all of that and this and be protected by the king. But they didn't do that. Instead, they went to g5 check instead of f5, which is what they should have done. And now it's a mate in 14. I went here, which took us back to a mate in 5. They checked. I went around behind my pawn, and they started bringing their king. Well, I decided to bring my pawn. So I had to get out of the way first. So they came forward. I brought my pawn. Now I'm about to promote myself. So they checked. It says mate in 12. I went there, and it drops to mate in 3. All they have to do is bring their king forward. Oh, because that would keep me from coming out either of these ways, and their queen keeps me from going here, and I can't move my pawn, so it would have forced me into the corner. And then I'm not sure what would have been their best move. Oh, that is what they played. Now it's mate in 2. All right, well, that forced me into the corner. So here, I've left the lines on. What they should have played is queen to h3. That would have forced me in front of the pawn, and then that would have been mate. But instead, they went over there. And when they did that, I thought, wait, I got to draw, because that's a queen. And they don't, I mean, and it's check. So they basically have to take it, and then I take back, and that's what happened. So they had mate in 2, but blundered away a stalemate. All right. So I don't feel so bad. Maybe my opponent felt bad for me the way I had blundered away my lead and decided to give this away, a draw by insufficient material. I said stalemate. It's a draw by insufficient material. Thank you for watching. Hopefully we learned something. I definitely learned back there on that pawn situation that there are I should have taken the time. I had 3 whole minutes. My opponent had 4, but I should have taken the time and realized that my plan of playing c2 was just not going to work. The king is too close. I could have then gone further, I guess, so that their king would have been back there when it captured the pawn, and I would have been much closer to these pawns. But the problem, okay, this is what I think I could have calculated even without counting moves, which I really probably didn't have time for. Even if their king started off back there, I've got to take care of 3 pawns over here before I can get back to those. And while I'm doing that, I mean, that's going to take a little while to get all those pawns. And while I'm doing that, their king is going to be coming this way, well, probably this way, to get this pawn. And they've only got 4 moves before they're next to my pawn. And I've got how many to get across here? Quite a few. And then I'm way over here, and they've already taken this pawn. So I think I could have, even without counting the moves, seen that it would have taken me too long to take all of these before they got that one. And I would have maybe thought of something else. And it had to be this. And the reason is because even if they take, which would not have been good for them, it creates another passed pawn for me. And they would have had to have known that their best move was here. And then, again, my only move is to take, not to go past. So I take. And they have to know here to start pushing this one. Yeah, the whole sequence that we already went through. Well, I'm glad I didn't lose, and I'm glad that my rapid rating is still just over 1,300. Thank you for sticking with me. We'll see you next time.